I should have known something was off the moment Olivia started dressing up for no reason. She used to lounge around the house in old sweatpants, but lately, she'd been putting on perfume just to grab coffee with friends. At first, I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe she just wanted to feel good about herself. But deep down, I felt it, that sickening gut instinct every man dreads. Then came the late-night texting. She'd smile at her phone, chuckling at messages she never shared with me. "Just a meme," she'd say when I asked. But no meme makes a woman giggle like that. I tried to ignore it, to push away the thoughts clawing at my mind, but the signs were piling up. Then came the dinner. She sat across from me at the candlelit table, looking radiant, too radiant. Something wasn't right. My gut screamed at me, but I had no idea just how deep the knife was about to plunge. "Daniel," she said, reaching across the table, her nails painted blood red. "I need to talk to you about something exciting." I raised an eyebrow, already feeling uneasy. "Go on." She smiled, a wicked, self-satisfied grin. "I want to introduce you to someone special." My stomach clenched. "Special?" "This is Josh," she continued, as a tall, smirking guy appeared at her side. He had the kind of confidence that only comes from knowing he's won. "He's been a part of my life for a while now, and I think it's time you two got to know each other better." My hands clenched into fists under the table. "What the hell is this, Olivia?" She sighed, rolling her eyes. "Relax. I know this is a lot, but I want you to be open-minded. Josh is important to me, and I think it's time we all start sharing more. It'll be good for our marriage." A fire roared in my chest. I glanced at Josh, who leaned back in his chair, smug as hell, watching me like a predator sizing up prey. "You want me to just accept this?" I asked, my voice sharp. "Yes," she said, tilting her head, as if I was the one being unreasonable. "I love you, Daniel, but I love Josh too. And honestly, I think you'd like him if you gave him a chance." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The woman I loved, the woman I'd built a life with, had just tossed everything aside like it was nothing. Worse, she expected me to smile through it. I pushed back my chair, standing so quickly the table shook. "I need some air." She sighed again, her patience wearing thin. "Daniel, don't be dramatic. It's not a big deal." I was already out the door. I needed space. I needed to clear my head before I did something I'd regret. But as I stepped outside, the rage inside me only grew. My wife was cheating on me, right in front of my face, and she expected me to accept it. Not a chance in hell. I stormed out of the house, fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. The cool night air hit me, but it did nothing to smother the fire raging in my chest. My wife, my Olivia, had just invited me to share her with another man. Not behind my back, not with guilt or shame, but with a smile, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. I leaned against my car, breathing heavily, trying to make sense of it. Was I blind? Had I really missed the signs? Or was I just so damn in love with her that I ignored the truth staring me in the face? My mind reeled, replaying every moment from the last few months. The late-night showers before bed, her phone always flipped face down, the sudden need for girls' weekends when she never even liked traveling before. How could I have been so stupid? Then, it hit me. This wasn't just some random fling. This was planned. She had been with this guy for a while, probably laughing at me behind my back, probably bringing him into my home, my bed, while I was out working to provide for her. A fresh wave of rage crashed over me. My breathing turned shallow. I wanted to hit something, someone. I turned back to the house, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts. Would I walk back in and demand answers? Would I throw her out? Would I break that smug bastard's face right in front of her? Then, the front door opened. Josh stepped out like he owned the place, his hands in his pockets, a smirk tugging at his lips. The way he looked at me, it was like I was some lost puppy, struggling to understand the new rules of the world. Wrong move. I was on him in seconds. My fist connected with his jaw so hard I felt the bones crunch. He staggered back, cursing, but I didn't give him time to recover. I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the hood of my car. "You think you can just walk into my life and take what's mine?" I snarled, my voice dripping with venom. He gasped for air, struggling beneath my grip. Olivia, Olivia said. I don't give a damn what she said. I spat, tightening my hold. You knew she was married. You knew exactly what you were doing. His eyes darted toward the house, desperate. And that's when I heard her. Her laugh. I looked up and saw Olivia standing in the doorway, arms crossed, watching the chaos like it was some entertaining reality show. She wasn't scared. She wasn't apologetic. She wasn't even mad. She was amused. Jesus, Daniel, she sighed, shaking her head. You're so predictable. I let go of Josh, who coughed and stumbled away, wiping blood from his lip. I took a step toward her, disbelief flooding through me. You think this is funny? She shrugged. I think it's pathetic. Pathetic. I clenched my jaw. You're standing there watching me fight the guy you've been screwing behind my back, and I'm the pathetic one? She scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh, don't act like some poor victim. This marriage has been dead for years. You just refuse to see it. I finally found someone who makes me happy, and instead of being an adult about it, you resort to caveman behavior. My whole body tensed. If you were so damn unhappy, why didn't you just leave? She smiled, actually smiled. Because I like having options, Daniel. Unlike you, I don't settle for just one thing. The words hit me like a freight train. She wasn't sorry. She didn't feel guilty. She had no intention of choosing me. All those years, all the love, the sacrifices, the memories, all of it meant nothing to her. I exhaled sharply, something inside me finally breaking. Not just anger, not just betrayal, something deeper, something that told me this wasn't salvageable. I looked her dead in the eyes. I hope he was worth it. Her smile faltered, just for a second. Then, I turned on my heel, heading straight for my car. Where are you going? She called after me, her tone bored, like she already knew the answer. I stopped just short of the driver's seat, and without looking back, I said the words that sealed my fate. Far away from you. I got in, slammed the door shut, and drove off into the night. But I wasn't just leaving for a drive. I was leaving her. For good. I drove aimlessly through the empty streets, my knuckles white as I gripped the steering wheel. The adrenaline was wearing off, but the rage still burned, simmering just beneath my skin. Olivia. That bitch. I had spent years thinking we were a team, that whatever rough patches we hit, we would push through together. But now I knew the truth. She never gave a damn. Her words echoed in my head. Because I like having options, Daniel. She didn't just betray me. She laughed in my face while doing it. The worst part? I let it happen. I trusted her. My vision blurred as memories came rushing in. Our wedding day, the time she cried in my arms when her father passed away, the way she used to kiss me when I got home from work. All lies. Every damn moment had been a lie. And for what? For some smug bastard who didn't even have the decency to look ashamed? I pulled into an empty parking lot and killed the engine. The silence was deafening. For the first time since this nightmare started, I let out a breath and tried to think. What the hell was I supposed to do now? Go back home and pretend this never happened? Sleep next to her, knowing she had spent the night with him? No, that was out of the question. I needed a plan. Step 1. Get my shit together. I reached for my phone and started scrolling through my contacts. There was only one person I could call at a time like this. Jason, my best friend since college. The guy who had seen me through breakups, job losses, and everything in between. If anyone would understand, it was him. The phone barely rang twice before he picked up. Yo, what's up, man? His voice was groggy. He had probably been asleep, but when he heard my breathing, his tone shifted. Daniel? What's wrong? I hesitated, but only for a second. She cheated on me. Silence. Then, a low, dangerous, what? She's been screwing some guy named Josh. I spat. And tonight, she sat me down at dinner and introduced him to me like it was some kind of sick joke. She wanted me to accept him into our marriage. Jason cursed under his breath. Are you serious? Dead serious. Another pause. Then, where are you? I looked around at the dimly lit parking lot. Nowhere. Just driving. Come over, he said immediately. You shouldn't be alone right now. For the first time since I left the house, I felt a flicker of relief. Yeah, okay. I put the car in drive and headed toward Jason's apartment. 20 minutes later, I was sitting on his couch, a whiskey glass in my hand. Jason sat across from me, watching me carefully. He was one of those guys who didn't talk much when he was angry, but I could see the fury in his eyes. I never liked her, he finally said. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, well, turns out you were right. She's garbage, man. I mean, what kind of woman does that? Not just the cheating, but the way she told you. Like it was some casual conversation over dinner. I clenched my jaw. She wanted me to be open-minded. Can you believe that shit? Jason's expression darkened. And this Josh guy, what did he do when you confronted him? I smirked, remembering the way his face contorted in pain when my fist met his jaw. He didn't like it very much. Jason let out a short laugh. Good. Then he leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. So what's the plan? I sighed, rubbing my temples. Divorce. Jason nodded. That's the right move. I never thought it would end like this. He exhaled sharply. No one does. But listen to me, Daniel. She's not worth another second of your pain. The sooner you cut her out of your life, the better. I knew he was right, but knowing and feeling were two different things. Jason poured me another drink. What's the living situation? I let out a humorless chuckle. Well, considering she brought her boyfriend into my house, I'm guessing she's not planning on leaving anytime soon. His expression hardened. Then kick her ass out. I shook my head. Not yet. I need to be smart about this. If I go back now and start throwing her stuff out, she could turn it into some legal battle. I'm calling a lawyer first thing in the morning. Jason nodded approvingly. Good. Make sure you screw her over as much as possible. Oh, I plan to. If Olivia thought she could humiliate me and walk away unscathed, she had another thing coming. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to make her regret ever taking me for a fool. And I was just getting started. The next morning, the rage was still there, simmering beneath my skin like a volcano on the brink of eruption. But now, it wasn't just anger, it was focus. I had spent the night at Jason's place, barely sleeping, my mind racing with plans. I wasn't going to let Olivia walk away from this unscathed. The first step was getting my affairs in order. As soon as the clock hit 9 a.m., I dialed the number of the best divorce lawyer in town. Jason had given me the contact, swearing this guy was a shark in the courtroom. That was exactly what I needed. Daniel Carter? The lawyer's voice came through the line, firm and professional. Yes, I need to file for divorce immediately. Understood. Any complications? Shared assets? Infidelity? I almost laughed. Infidelity. That was an understatement. She's been cheating, I said coldly, and she brought her boyfriend into our home, expecting me to accept it. There was a brief pause before the lawyer responded, his tone turning sharper. Then we'll make sure she gets nothing. That was all I needed to hear. We arranged a meeting for the afternoon, and I hung up, already feeling like I had gained some control back. She wanted to treat me like an idiot? Like some disposable fool? She was about to find out exactly who she was dealing with. I wasn't going to beg her to love me. I wasn't going to wallow in self-pity. I was going to destroy her. When I finally pulled up to the house, I sat in the car for a long moment, just staring at the place that used to be my home. It didn't feel like that anymore. It felt like a crime scene, a place tainted by her betrayal. I stepped out, slamming the car door shut with more force than necessary. Every step toward the front door felt heavier, like I was walking into a battlefield. But I was ready. The second I walked in, Olivia was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. She barely glanced up. Oh, you're back. No shame, no guilt, just boredom. I clenched my jaw, my fists itching to put another dent in her boyfriend's face. But he wasn't here. Just her, sitting there as if she hadn't just torn our marriage apart. I spoke to a lawyer, I said, my voice even, controlled. That got her attention. She raised an eyebrow, finally looking at me. Wow, that was fast. I folded my arms. What did you expect? She sighed dramatically, setting her phone down. I thought you'd need time to process everything. Maybe even come around to the idea. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Come around? To what? Being your backup plan while you screw other men? She rolled her eyes, as if I was the one being ridiculous. Daniel, don't be so dramatic. It's not like I don't love you. I just don't believe in outdated concepts like monogamy anymore. I stared at her, disgust curling in my stomach. Then why the hell did you marry me? She shrugged. Because I loved you then. But people change. I changed. No apology. No remorse. Just pure selfishness. I took a deep breath, trying to control the urge to break something. Well, since you've changed, you can change your living situation too. Pack your shit and get out. She let out a laugh, shaking her head. You really think it's that easy? Hate to break it to you, sweetheart, but this house is ours. I have just as much right to be here as you do. My stomach tightened. She was right. Legally, she had a claim. But I wasn't about to let her live under my roof while she paraded her affair in my face. Not for long, I said, my voice dripping with venom. Once the divorce is finalized, you'll be left with nothing. No house, no money, no security. You'll be just another cheater who lost everything. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. Good. She crossed her arms. And what if I contest it? What if I fight for my share? I smirked, pulling out my phone. Then I'll make sure everyone, your friends, your family, your job, knows exactly what kind of woman you are. I have texts, pictures, proof. Her confidence wavered. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She exhaled sharply, leaning back against the couch. God, you're so bitter. Why can't you just move on? I took a step closer, lowering my voice. Because I'm not like you, Olivia. I don't betray the people I love. I don't throw away years of commitment for some cheap thrill. She scoffed, but there was tension in her posture now. Fine, I'll leave. Victory. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I leaned against the wall, watching her carefully. Tell me something, Olivia. Was it worth it? She frowned. What? Was it worth throwing everything away for Josh? She hesitated, just for a second. Then, her expression hardened. Yes, he makes me feel alive. A bitter smile tugged at my lips. Good, because he's all you'll have left when this is over. I turned, walking out of the room before she could see the storm raging in my eyes. She thought she had one. She thought she had control. But by the time I was done, she would realize just how wrong she was. I wasn't just ending this marriage. I was making sure she never recovered from what she did to me. I didn't stick around to watch Olivia pack. I didn't need to. She could take her designer bags, her overpriced makeup, and whatever scraps of dignity she had left and get the hell out. Instead, I spent the next few hours making sure that when she was gone for good. The first step? Freezing our joint accounts. I called the bank immediately, making it clear that under no circumstances was my soon-to-be ex-wife allowed access to my money. Every shared credit card was canceled. Every automatic transfer was stopped. Olivia liked to play the role of a self-sufficient woman, but the truth? She had depended on me. My paycheck paid for her shopping sprees, her salon visits, her expensive gym membership. Without me, she had nothing. The second step? Changing the locks. I had a locksmith at the house before she even had a chance to leave. By the time she walked out the door with her suitcases, she wouldn't be able to walk back in. She could keep the key if she wanted. It wouldn't work anymore. The third step? Destroying the fantasy she had built. She thought this new life of hers with Josh was going to be perfect, that she would have it all. Well, I wasn't about to let that happen. I picked up my phone, scrolling through the messages she had sent Josh, the one she had stupidly left open on our shared iPad. Screenshots. Dozens of them. Some were just flirty nonsense. Others? Not so much. God, I wish I could just stay in bed with you all day. Daniel's such a bore. He doesn't even notice when I sneak off to see you. I can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. I wasn't the only one getting a message today. I sent the screenshots to Josh's fiancée. Yes, fiancé. Because, as it turned out, the man Olivia had decided to risk it all for was just as much of a lying piece of garbage as she was. I had found the fiancé's Instagram the night before, hidden deep in Olivia's tagged pictures from some wedding they had attended. It didn't take long to find her contact info. The message was short and simple. I thought you should know what kind of man you're engaged to. Then, I attached every screenshot I had. I didn't need to wait for a response. I already knew the damage was done. When I finally walked back into the house that evening, Olivia was standing in the middle of the living room, her suitcase beside her, tapping away on her phone. She didn't look up when I walked in. She was too busy arguing with someone over text. Josh, probably. I smirked to myself. Good. She had no idea what was coming. Without a word, I walked past her, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and leaned against the counter. You almost done? She let out an exasperated sigh. Jesus, Daniel. You don't have to rush me out like I'm some intruder. I took a sip of my drink, watching her carefully. You are an intruder. She rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. You act like I killed someone. I smirked. No, Olivia. You just killed our marriage. But don't worry. I'll make sure you get a proper funeral for it. That got to her. She snapped her head up, her eyes narrowing. Oh, go to hell. I laughed, shaking my head. Already been there. You made sure of that. Her phone buzzed again, and I saw the way her face dropped. She turned away quickly, but not before I caught a glimpse of the message. Josh, what the F asterisk did you do? Bingo. She shoved the phone in her pocket, grabbing her suitcase with more force than necessary. Whatever. I'm leaving. I took another sip of my beer. Don't forget to take your lies with you. She stormed toward the door, but just before she stepped out, she turned back, her lips curling into a sneer. You know what, Daniel? You think you're punishing me, but you're the pathetic one here. You're the one who's going to be alone, miserable, and bitter while I move on. I leaned against the counter, unfazed. You're right. I will be alone, but at least I'll still have my self-respect. You? You'll just be another woman who lost everything because she couldn't keep her legs closed. Her face twisted in rage, but she didn't have a comeback. She knew I was right. Without another word, she yanked the door open and slammed it shut behind her. The second she was gone, I let out a long breath. I should have felt relief, but all I felt was emptiness. Not because I missed her, hell no. That part of my life was dead, but because of the sheer weight of it all. The betrayal, the lies, the realization that the woman I had loved never really existed. She had just been a fantasy, a mask Olivia wore until she got bored. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. She thought she had one. But the real game was just beginning. And I had every intention of making sure she lost everything. The silence in the house felt unnatural. It wasn't peaceful. It was hollow, like the echoes of everything that had once been here but was now gone. Olivia's presence had tainted this place, and though she was physically gone, the mess she left behind still lingered. But I wasn't done yet. She thought she was walking away with her new, exciting life. She thought she had the upper hand. What she didn't realize was that she had built that life on a foundation of lies, and I was about to make sure it all came crashing down. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I landed on Olivia's boss. Her job at the marketing firm was her pride and joy. She wasn't just an employee. She was a rising star. She had worked hard to cultivate the image of a smart, professional, driven woman. But what would happen if her boss found out how she had been spending her work hours? I had screenshots of her texts with Josh, time-stamped during work hours. Messages where she blew off meetings to meet him at a hotel. Explicit conversations sent while she was supposed to be in client calls. I didn't even need to say much. I sent an email directly to her boss with the subject line, "Concerns about Olivia's conduct." The body of the email was short and professional. I believe it's important for you to be aware of how one of your employees has been conducting herself during work hours. I have attached screenshots that may concern you. I trust you will handle this matter accordingly. No threats, no accusations, just evidence. I hit send, and just like that, the career she had worked so hard to build was now hanging by a thread. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Jason, dude, you're not going to believe this. I frowned and called him immediately. What happened? Jason laughed on the other end. Josh's fiancée? She went nuclear. She dumped his ass, trashed his apartment, and put him on blast all over social media. I grinned. Perfect. She posted screenshots of all the messages you sent her, Jason continued. Everyone knows now. His friends, his family. Hell, even his co-workers are commenting. I opened Instagram and searched for her profile. The post was still up. Imagine planning a future with someone, only to find out they've been screwing a married woman behind your back. Josh, you are a liar and a cheat, and I hope you rot in the mess you made. The comment section was brutal. People were tagging Josh, calling him a scumbag. Some of his own friends were unfollowing him publicly. And then, there it was, Olivia's comment. This isn't fair. You don't know the full story. Jason chuckled. She's in full damage control mode, man. She's trying to play the victim, but no one's buying it. I leaned back, satisfied. Good. Let her squirm. Jason hesitated for a second before saying, You sure this is enough? I mean, she's lost Josh. She's probably going to lose her job. Do you want to keep going? I didn't even have to think about it. Yes. Because this wasn't just about revenge. This was about justice. She had humiliated me, treated me like I was disposable. She had expected to walk away untouched. But now, she was feeling exactly what I had felt when I first found out about her betrayal. She had no idea what was coming next. That night, I got a call from Olivia. I almost ignored it. But then, curiosity got the better of me. I answered, keeping my voice cold. What do you want? She didn't waste time. You sent those emails to my boss, didn't you? I smirked. Which emails? She hissed through the phone. Don't play dumb. You just cost me my on job. I feigned surprise. Oh no. Did they fire you? She was breathing hard, like she was trying to hold back tears. Not yet, but I'm on suspension while they investigate. My reputation is ruined, Daniel. Do you understand that? I took a sip of my drink. Good. Now we're even. Even? She screeched. You are such a vindictive, bitter little man. I made one mistake. One mistake? I laughed. Olivia, you spent months lying to me, sneaking around, sleeping with someone else while pretending to be my wife. That's not a mistake. That's who you are. Silence. Then, she muttered, I should have left you a long time ago. I smirked. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You're out of my life for good. I hung up before she could say another word. And just like that, she was nothing more than a bad memory. The next morning, I got a text from Jason. Jason, you are not going to believe what just happened. I frowned, calling him immediately. What now? Jason burst out laughing. Josh just got fired. I blinked. Wait, what? Apparently, one of his co-workers saw the post his ex made and sent it to HR. Turns out, he had been sneaking out of work to meet Olivia, too. His boss didn't take it well. I let out a low whistle. Karma was working overtime. He's blaming Olivia, Jason added. Dude's been posting cryptic sh*t about being betrayed by someone he trusted. I checked Josh's profile. Sure enough, there it was, a vague, pathetic post about loyalty and regret. I shook my head, chuckling. They deserve each other. Jason laughed. So, what now? You got your revenge. What's next? I exhaled, staring out the window. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. No more lies. No more betrayal. No more Olivia. I had one, and I wasn't looking back. The morning after Olivia's furious call, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. The weight that had been pressing on my chest for months was gone, replaced by something lighter, something calmer. I had spent so much time drowning in her betrayal, but now, I was finally surfacing, finally breathing. I poured myself a coffee and checked my phone. No messages from Olivia. No more pleading, no more demands, no more insults. She had gone silent, which meant only one thing. Her world was falling apart. The thought made me smirk. Curious, I checked social media. Olivia's name was still being dragged through the mud. Her job had officially placed her on suspension, and though she hadn't made any public statements, it was obvious she was scrambling. Then there was Josh. He had made a desperate attempt to clear his name, posting about how relationships are complicated and how sometimes people make mistakes. But nobody was buying it. His ex-fiancée had done too good of a job exposing him, and now his reputation was as ruined as Olivia's. As I scrolled through the comments, something caught my eye. Olivia had deleted her account. I leaned back in my chair, satisfied. It was over for her. She had lost everything. And I hadn't even needed to lift a finger after that first push. Her downfall had happened naturally, like dominoes falling one by one, collapsing under the weight of her own arrogance. She had thought she was invincible, thought she could cheat, lie, and manipulate her way through life without consequences. But she had been wrong. And now, she was nothing. I didn't hear from Olivia for a week. At first, I assumed she was too busy picking up the pieces of her shattered life. Maybe she was trying to find a new job, a new place to stay, a new identity now that everyone knew who she really was. But then, late one night, my phone rang. I stared at the screen. Olivia. For a moment, I debated ignoring it. But then I answered, pressing the phone to my ear without saying a word. Her voice came through, small and broken. Daniel. I didn't respond. She took a shaky breath. Are you happy now? I exhaled slowly, feeling no pity, no sympathy. Yes. A bitter laugh came from the other end of the line. You destroyed me. No, I said calmly. You destroyed yourself. I just let everyone see who you really are. There was silence. Then, a choked sob. I lost my job, Daniel. I lost everything. Josh won't even talk to me. My friends don't want to be around me. My family, God. My mother won't even return my calls. I didn't respond. I wasn't interested in her tears. She had spent months lying to my face, sneaking around behind my back, treating me like an idiot. She had humiliated me, disrespected me, and expected to get away with it. Now, she wanted my sympathy? She wasn't getting it. She sniffled. I don't know what to do. I ran a hand through my hair. That's not my problem. Another silence. Then, her voice dropped into something desperate. Do you still love me? I closed my eyes. Once, I would have said yes. Once, I would have done anything to fix things, to make her love me again, to believe her lies just so I wouldn't have to face the truth. But now, I felt nothing for her. I opened my mouth and said the words I should have said a long time ago. No. A broken sob came through the phone. I didn't feel a thing. She had finally lost me, too, and I had never felt stronger. The next day, I packed up the last of her things and had them sent to whatever cheap motel she was staying at. There was no dramatic final confrontation, no teary-eyed goodbye. She had already wasted enough of my time. As I locked the door behind me, I let out a long breath. For the first time in years, I felt free. I had spent too long living in the wreckage of my marriage, clinging to a love that had died long before I realized it. But now, I was done. Olivia was nothing more than a memory, a mistake, a lesson learned, and I was finally ready to move forward. Without her, without regret, without looking back. The morning after Olivia's final, pathetic call, I woke up with a strange sense of clarity. It wasn't just relief, it was liberation. For months, I had been drowning in the wreckage of my marriage, suffocating under the weight of betrayal. But now, that weight was gone. Olivia had been erased from my life, reduced to nothing more than a bitter afterthought. I walked through the house, noticing how different it felt without her presence. The tension, the deceit, the suffocating toxicity, it had all left with her. What remained was mine. The silence wasn't hollow anymore. It was peaceful. For the first time in a long time, I had control. No more games. No more lies. No more Olivia. She was out in the world, drowning in the consequences of her own actions, and I was free. I spent the next few days reclaiming my life. I threw out everything that reminded me of her. The clothes she had left behind, the useless trinkets she had scattered around the house, the framed pictures that once told a fake story of happiness. Each item I tossed into the trash felt like cutting another tie, breaking another chain. And with each piece of her I removed, I felt lighter. But it wasn't just about getting rid of her presence. It was about rebuilding myself. For too long, I had let Olivia dictate my emotions. I had let her betrayal define me, let her deception break me down. But not anymore. It was time to start over. The first thing I did was focus on myself. I went back to the gym, pushing my body harder than I ever had before. With every rep, every lift, every drop of sweat, I felt the anger, the resentment, the frustration burn away. I was stronger now, in more ways than one. Then, I started reconnecting with the people I had neglected. During my marriage, Olivia had isolated me without me even realizing it. She had made our world feel like the only world that mattered, subtly discouraging me from spending time with my friends, my family. And like an idiot, I had let it happen. But now, I reached out. I grabbed drinks with Jason, who had been my rock through all of this. I visited my parents, who welcomed me with open arms and relieved smiles. I made plans, I laughed, I lived. For the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. And it felt damn good. One evening, as I was walking home from the gym, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Curious, I answered. Daniel? The voice was hesitant, unfamiliar, but something about it made me pause. Then, it hit me. Josh's ex-fiancée. I smirked. Didn't expect to hear from you. She let out a small chuckle, but there was an edge to it, like she wasn't sure if she should be calling me. I wanted to say thank you. That caught me off guard. For what? For telling me the truth, she said simply. If you hadn't reached out, I would have married that cheating bastard. I would have built my whole life on a lie. I leaned against a street lamp, watching the city lights flicker. Yeah, I know the feeling. A pause. Then, I'm sorry for what she did to you. I exhaled slowly, surprised by how little bitterness I felt now. I'm not. She was silent, waiting for me to explain. I'm not sorry because it taught me something, I continued. I learned exactly what I deserve. And I learned that I wasted too much time on someone who never deserved me in the first place. She was quiet for a moment. Then, she laughed softly. Yeah, I get that. We talked for a while after that. About betrayal, about moving on, about learning to trust again. And by the time I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Closure. Weeks passed, and Olivia became nothing more than a distant memory. She tried to reach out a few more times. Desperate attempts at reconciliation, weak apologies disguised as manipulations. But I ignored them all. She didn't deserve my time, my energy, or even my hatred. She was nothing to me. And as I sat on my balcony one evening, watching the sun set over the city, I realized something. I had one. Not because I had destroyed Olivia's life. Not because I had exposed her and left her in ruins. I had one because I had moved on. Because I had taken the pain she caused and used it to make myself stronger. Because I had reclaimed my life, my happiness, myself. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking back.